Have you ever dared to ask why some ideas about men and women are instantly shut down, labeled as offensive, or erased from public discourse entirely? Why do we instinctively avoid uncomfortable truths about gender, nature, and the raw mechanics of human relationships? In the modern world, we're told that men and women are fundamentally the same, merely shaped differently by environment, culture, and upbringing. But what if that narrative is incomplete? What if the truth is not so comforting, not so politically correct, and not so easy to digest? Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century philosopher known for his bleak, unsparing view of life, didn't just flirt with these questions. He charged at them full force, armed with logic sharpened by pessimism. He didn't see gender as a matter of social construction, but of biological design. And in that design, he believed, lay a brutal reality no one truly wants to hear. Schopenhauer wasn't interested in virtue signaling or polite conversation. He wrote about women in a way that still infuriates readers today, not because his views were ignorant, but because they cut into the delicate illusions that modern society depends on. According to him, women were not driven by reason, nor did they possess the same ambitions or intellectual depth as men. Their strengths lay elsewhere, in instinct, emotional intelligence, manipulation, beauty, and survival strategy. And for Schopenhauer, love, that grand, poetic fantasy we all romanticize, was nothing more than nature's bait, a carefully orchestrated lie to ensure reproduction, not fulfillment. But before we reject these ideas outright, we must ask, what if he was onto something? What if his harsh assessment wasn't a product of misogyny, but of cold observation, of truths we see but don't want to name? Let's explore the most controversial part of Schopenhauer's philosophy, his view on women, and unpack why it still matters today. Part 1. Nature over reason. Few topics in philosophy have provoked more backlash than Schopenhauer's unapologetic critique of women. His observations weren't veiled behind diplomacy or softened by idealism. He claimed outright that women are creatures of instinct, not intellect, that they are more attuned to what is, rather than what could be. To him, men are creatures of abstraction, obsessed with ideals, ideas, and long-term legacy. Women, on the other hand, are rooted in the immediate, the emotional, the practical, the relational. His words are harsh, but they reveal a fundamental philosophical divide. Where men are pulled toward philosophy, art, war, and ambition, women, in Schopenhauer's view, concern themselves with family, status, safety, and influence. Was this purely a symptom of his time, a reflection of a patriarchal society that denied women opportunities for greatness? Maybe, but Schopenhauer didn't think so. He believed this division wasn't created by society, it was deeper, biological, evolutionary, hardwired. He was convinced that while men strive to transcend life, women master the conditions necessary to survive it. This isn't about superiority or inferiority. It's about different blueprints, different drives. And when those drives clash, especially in love, chaos ensues. Part 2. The illusion of love. For Schopenhauer, love is perhaps the greatest con of all, not because it deceives us emotionally, but because it does so with such precision. He argued that love is not about soulmates or eternal bonds, but about reproductive strategy. Men are drawn to youth and beauty, not because of sentiment, but because they subconsciously detect signs of fertility. Women are drawn to power and protection, not out of devotion, but as a method of securing resources for offspring. Every romantic gesture, every grand expression of love, to Schopenhauer, is merely camouflage for what nature really wants: procreation. And here's the disturbing part. He believed that neither men nor women are truly aware of this. We are puppets thinking we're in control, while our biology pulls the strings. What we call passion, he called programming. What we cherish as connection, he saw as strategy. Once reproduction is achieved, the illusion fades. Couples fall out of love. Desire vanishes, and disillusionment sets in. This, he claimed, is not a flaw in love. It's the design. The dream was never meant to last. Love's only purpose was to draw people together long enough to fulfill nature's demand. That's why, in Schopenhauer's words, love does not make us happy. It binds us, blinds us, and uses us, and once its job is done, it abandons us. Part 3. Power in disguise. According to Schopenhauer, the real power struggle between men and women is not about laws, rights, or titles. It's about influence. While men may dominate in politics, war, and physical strength, women, he argued, dominate through subtlety, through persuasion, through charm, through emotion. He believed women have mastered the art of indirect power, shaping outcomes not by confrontation, but by emotional leverage. And throughout history, this influence has been profound. Queens, mistresses, mothers, and lovers, they have steered emperors, ended wars, ignited revolutions, and destroyed dynasties, all without ever wielding a sword. Beauty for Schopenhauer was a weapon, temporary but potent. Paired with emotional sensitivity and intuition, it became a tool of survival and control. Where men conquer cities, women conquer the hearts of the men who conquer cities. And through them, they shape history in whispers, not declarations. This dynamic exists in relationships as well. Men chase power, women shape the men who hold it. Men seek legacy, women ensure its preservation. It is not a competition of equals. It is a convergence of different forms of strength. To Schopenhauer, this invisible power was no less real. If anything, it was more dangerous, because it was harder to detect, and therefore harder to resist. Part 4. The time divide. One of Schopenhauer's most revealing ideas was his analysis of how men and women relate to time. He argued that men are oriented toward the future. They sacrifice the present to chase long-term goals, often at the cost of joy, peace, and stability. They endure discomfort to build legacies. Their minds are always on what could be, the next achievement, the next invention, the next war to win. Women, by contrast, are rooted in the present. They prioritize the immediate, emotional connection, financial security, social status. Their concerns, Schopenhauer believed, are less abstract and more existential. How to survive, how to nurture, how to protect. This doesn't mean women are short-sighted. It means they are pragmatic. Men gamble with time. Women hedge their bets. Men risk everything for dreams. Women invest in certainty. Who's wiser? That's the question Schopenhauer leaves hanging. Are men noble in their suffering or foolish in their ambitions? Are women practical survivors or manipulators of emotion? The philosopher does not moralize, he observes. He understood that ambition often leads to burnout, that striving for immortality often ends in emptiness. In that sense, he saw women as more in tune with life's rhythms, less susceptible to existential despair, more content in daily realities. Part 5. Beyond the illusions. So where does this leave us? Schopenhauer didn't believe in the myths of equality, not because he thought one gender was better, but because he believed they were incomparable, designed for different functions, shaped by different instincts, doomed to misunderstand each other because they were never meant to think the same way. To him, the tragedy is not that men and women are different, but that we refuse to acknowledge it. Modern society tells us to blur all distinctions, to pretend love is sacred, that relationships are egalitarian, that gender is irrelevant. But Schopenhauer's philosophy, however brutal, suggests otherwise. He forces us to confront the illusions, that love is not pure, that equality may be an abstraction, and that influence does not always look like authority. His perspective may be unpopular, even offensive, but it's also fearless. He understood that the search for truth comes at a cost, the cost of comfort, conformity, and certainty. And so, the uncomfortable question remains: are we brave enough to see things as they are? Or will we keep clinging to the illusions that protect us from ourselves? If this message stirred something within you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone else might be walking the same silent path, waiting for a sign that they're not alone. Stay grounded, stay thoughtful, stay awake. For more deep dives into philosophy, the human experience, and timeless truths, subscribe and turn on the bell. Wander the void with wonder. Question deeply. Think freely. Until next time, embrace the silence and let it speak.